This is the Rich Dad Radio Show. The good news and bad news about money. Here's Robert Kiyosaki.
Hello. Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show. The good news and bad news. And today about Bitcoin. It's one of my favorite subjects. It's the hottest subject of all. And we have my go-to guy. As you know, Bitcoin is for young guys. And I don't know what's for old guys. Old guys are 401ks and they're screwed. But anyway, the person I turn to when I need information is Anthony Pompliano. And his Pomp is he's the headliner of the Pomp podcast. So his website is anthonypompliano.com. So welcome to the show, Anthony, because you guys are the subject of the day.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. I'm enjoying it. It's fun still, which is all that matters.
That's exciting. That's how you learn, you know? So, we're talking about it, and I did a podcast which pissed off a lot of the crypto guys that said, you crypto guys are just peeing in the ocean. When you look at the size of how big money is, it's like the ocean, and your crypto guys are standing there peeing it. Now you're pissing everybody off, which is the thing. And crypto is the future. But in the meantime, you're just peeing in the ocean. And the ocean of money is massive. Macro is huge. And it's as fake as they come. So the reason I support Bitcoin is because it's real. And the reason I don't like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and all that is it's fake. And the dollar is fake. But, I heard that the cryptos took a dive from 60,000 down to, I'm just waiting to get 27. And I'm going to back up the truck again. And they go, they don't know what to say. I said, well, why would you keep investing in it? I said, because you guys are the future. But in the meantime, you're just peeing in the ocean. I mean, that's 21 million Bitcoins trying to fill up an ocean.
What is it? 90 trillion or so, I think, is kind of global money supply, somewhere in that range, 90 to 100 trillion, depending on how you count it. And
that's
Bitcoin's,
$1
trillion.
Yeah, it's impossible to count. Because what happened, I'll give a quick history. This is the 50th anniversary of the fake dollar. So in 1971, Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. And that's when I became a gold bug. I said, well, at least gold is more real than the dollar. The same as I've been in silver since 64. So when I saw Bitcoin come along, I didn't understand it, and by the time it hit 20,000, I was getting excited. But being an old guy, I always know it retraces. So I just waited for to retrace. It retraced to 7. I think it go down to 3 or something. But, by the time I woke up again, it was at 7. And then I said, hit 9. I said, I better back up the truck now, because why would you chase something on the way up? You want it to come back, retrace, and then go back into it. But the reason I want to talk to you is because it's what's going on, your bigger picture. And I'm very, very bullish on Bitcoin, the whole crypto world. But in the meantime, the problem, most people are going to get screwed. As you know, Anthony, all they want to do is get rich quick.
Of course.
They don't want to study this stuff. And that's why they'll be the biggest losers around.
Look, if you look at the recent price drawdown, like you just described, right? So in 2017, we went from $1,000 to $20,000. It took about a year to draw down to 3,200. That was the bottom of this past bear market.
Oh, don't make me feel terrible.
And so from 3,200, basically between 2019, 2020, and into 2021, it then peaked again over 60,000. And then recently fell again to somewhere between 28,000 and 30,000 was kind of the most recent low. And I think, to your point, people see this high degree of volatility and it scares the hell out of them. But one of the beauties of Bitcoin being this decentralized digital open system is that you can actually go look on the blockchain and you can see exactly who's buying and who's selling, right? It's an open, transparent ledger. And so when you go and you look at those on-chain metrics or on the blockchain, what you find is that entire drop from 60 down to 30, it was all new investors, new people in the market, right? And you can tell that by how long have they been holding on to the Bitcoin that they were selling. And so when you see that all the new people are selling, it asks yourself, well, who's buying it? It's all the people who've been around for a really long time, right? They're saying, hey, if you just got here and all of a sudden a little bit of volatility spooks you, I'll surely buy up your Bitcoin at a lower price, right? And so what you have is you just have weak hands selling to strong hands, or kind of new people selling to old people. And so the people who've been around a long time, this is nothing new to them.
Well,
They can't believe it crashed to $30,000. The fact Bitcoin crashes to 30,000 is music to their ears.
Well, that's why I'm a little upset, because it didn't hit my strike price at 27. I was just sitting there waiting. I said, come on, go lower. And all the guys who are hoping it goes higher are bailing out, I thought it was pretty funny personally.
Of course.
It's called a market. Things go up and things come down. I mean, that's a market. Bulls and bears, right? That's all it is.
Yeah. And I think the other thing about Bitcoin that people should know is I always say that it's the last remaining truly free market, right? And so what I mean by that is you've done a great job over the years explaining to people kind of how manipulated the dollar is, how manipulated the stock market is, etc. But it's not just the macro manipulation, right? It's not just interest rates. It's not just quantitative easing. There's also things that are built into, say, the stock market, where if the stock market goes down 7-8% in a single day, they literally call timeout and say, hey, whoa, 15-minute circuit breaker. If it goes down again, 11-12%, hey, circuit breaker again. And then if it goes down 20% in a single day, they literally shut off the market and they all go home for the day.
Yeah, I want everybody.
That happens all the time in Bitcoin.
I want everybody to listen to what Anthony is saying here, because this is a very big difference between the stock market, real estate market, and Bitcoin. Because when I was a kid, nobody was in the stock market. So between like 61 to 81, the old guys like me, the baby boomers, they wouldn't go in the stock market because they were in the bond market. The bonds were safer. So what they do is create this thing called a 401k and the IRA to kind of force the baby boomers into the stock market. And who controls the stock market? Well, the central banks, the Treasury, and Wall Street. And so all these baby boomers have been set up. I know that because that's what I study. So as you know and I know, they're going to pull the rug out from under them. And there's going to be the biggest, baby boomers have been the luckiest generation in history. I mean, they do jack and they got rich. They put money in the stock market, they got rich. Then what happened is 87, the stock market crashes. And what Anthony's talking about here is because Greenspan came in and says, we can't let the baby boomers get out because then we all get poor. So the idiot baby boomers stayed in. It was called the Greenspan put, or the PPP, the plunge protection team. What Anthony is saying there, they prop the stock market up to keep the baby boomers in. And that's the difference between Bitcoin. There's nobody holding it up. Now, that's good or bad, but to me, it's good because you've got to be smarter. And all you losers out there who just want to get rich quick, you're going to get pounded. Stay in the stock market. Stay with that 401k. And then you get pounded when it all comes down. They can't stop it.
Look, one of the most fascinating things to me is, take a Warren Buffett, which I think a lot of people, especially baby boomer generation and on down, really respect somebody like a Warren Buffett, right? He's built an immense amount of personal wealth. He's got these very charismatic kind of letters that he writes that people are really attracted to. When he does interviews, right, he's very likable as an individual, and also shares awesome, timeless financial advice. And so when people see somebody like him and they ask him, what do you think about Bitcoin? Everything from it's rat poison to it's like harvesting dead baby brains and what other kind of ridiculous thing he says. But actually what you find is if you can separate kind of his personal beliefs on Bitcoin from the timeless financial principles that he's preached now for decades, what you find is the people in Bitcoin who follow those same timeless principles, dollar cost averaging, long-term holding and not trying to day trade or sell, right? Trying to find something that has a macro tailwind or an industry type bet to it. All of those principles apply here. And actually the people who are doing the best are benefiting.
As Buffett says, buy low.
Buy low is really good advice.
Buy low and hang on forever. He says, when do you sell? He never sells. I own Bitcoin. I'm never selling. I own real estate. I never sell. I own businesses. I never sell, because if you sell, you have a tax consequence.
Of
Do you know what I mean?
course.
That's macro financial education. So, and so the people that got hammered are exactly as you said. They were the FOMO, fear of missing out. They jump in, thing goes up, and we get rich.
Yeah. And here's the crazy part, right? Is that if you have short-term kind of thought process, if you're trying to optimize for quote unquote getting rich quick, if you aren't intelligent about risk management, all that stuff, then you become a panic seller when the price drops. And that's exactly what we just saw, right? Was people who were using leverage, they were trying to get rich quick, whatever. When price drops aggressively, they become the panic sellers. And the difference between this market and the traditional stock market is there's no circuit breakers. There is no hours of operations. There's no Friday at 4 p.m. Everyone goes home and we'll come back to play the game on Monday, right? It's 24/7, 365. There's no plunge protection team, right? That's going to step in and buy, kind of the market. And so what you get is high degrees of volatility. But I always joke, the people who are yelling and screaming about the volatility, right? Usually the anti-Bitcoin crowd. They never seem to bring up the volatility on days like today when Bitcoin's up 16% in the last 24 hours. That's
bad news.
They only bring up volatility when the price goes down, right? But we have to remember, volatility works both ways. It works on the way up and it works on the way down. Volatility is only bad when it goes against you. So if you're short and the price goes up, that's bad news. If you're long and the price goes down, that's bad news. But I think that ultimately what we're seeing is that Bitcoiners, especially the ones who have really spent the time learning about this, they want the price to go down, right? So they can buy more of it.
Well, it's no difference. Like when I was living in Portland, the Arizona real estate market crashed and people are moving out. They're like, I would never back, I used to live in California, but the reason I never moved there again is taxes, because they tax worldwide income. So I'd never moved to Arizona. If you are, let's say, a school teacher in California, it doesn't affect you. But if you're a global entrepreneur, California affects you. And that's why it's called macro financial education. And most guys are just peeing in the ocean, trying to figure out how to get rich quick. So, I'm very, very optimistic about Bitcoin, because of the blockchain technology, the lack of manipulation. But I think the most important is the same reason I own gold and silver. Can't mess with it. I don't own gold and silver ETFs. You know why? Because there's no gold and silver there.
Yep. Yeah, I think the big thing about what we're seeing in these markets is everyone always talks about there's some new technology, there's some new coin, there's some new thing that is more innovative, is faster, is cheaper, is whatever. And they want to have a technological argument. But what you just described is Bitcoin's core value proposition. It is decentralized. It's outside the system and nobody controls it. Nobody can create more of it. And that is the number one value proposition that I think people are seeking right now, is they are watching central banks around the world print trillions of dollars. They're watching authoritarian regimes around the world become more and more overreaching, increase financial surveillance, and kind of just do bad things. And what they're looking for is they're looking for an asset that isn't even so much about, quote unquote, getting rich. It's actually about protecting the wealth that you already have. It's how do I prevent my wealth from being degraded away by central banks printing all that money, or from authoritarian regimes trying to actually confiscate it from you. And Bitcoin is the ultimate solution. Correct.
Well, I don't know if it's ultimate, but it's a solution. But I think the biggest thing that you say that I don't think goes right over the head of most people is, I both served in the military. I went to military school. I studied Marx, Lenin, Stalin, and those guys. When you use the words decentralized, I get really happy, because centralized means communist. And when you say centralize the central banks, that's communism. And when Janet Yellen went from the central bank to the treasury, that was super communism, because they now control the monetary system. And the reason you guys, all of us now who are into the crypto, we're peeing into the ocean that's controlled by a bunch of communists, Janet Yellen and this guy Powell and the U.S. and the Wall Street. I sit there. I don't want to play their games. I mean, you can, if I had bought Amazon, I'd be rich. I just don't want to play their game. Just like, I don't buy cigarette stocks because my father died of cancer. He smoked every day, So just personally, somebody said, we don't buy some cigarette stocks. I said, no, I don't touch stocks anyway. I don't touch gold ETFs because they're fake. There's nothing there. There's no silver. There's no silver in the silver ETFs. There's going to be this crash so big in that market. And that's what the Reddit crowd proved when they tried to short squeeze, GameStop and silver. But the guys don't understand the game. And that's what you're explaining is when it's decentralized, you're peeing in the ocean controlled by the Fed. I love it.
Yeah. And look, I also think that there's this element of as people start to understand decentralization and centralization, this theme is going to continue over the next decade or so, right? When you look at things like the content of platforms, when you look at things like the media, when you look at things like financial markets, when you look at all sorts of aspects of our life, everything is centralized, right? If you remember, the United States of America was decentralized at one point. There was 50 states, and those 50 states had state governments, and there was competition among the state governments in order to provide the best environment for not only citizens, but also entrepreneurs, investors, etc.
Right, but that's
over the last.
But Anthony, that's what made us a republic.
Of course,
decentralized, and
of course.
So that's why we need to take a break. But I want you guys to look at the macro. Look at the macro. What are guys like Anthony and all the rest of the Bitcoiners doing? They're anti-communists, centralized. And if you're pro-communist, vote for Biden, Kamala, our future president, and Nancy Pelosi. They're communists. They're totalitarians. They want to tell you what to eat, smoke, drink, and when to wear your mask. They want to control everything about you. So that's why I love Bitcoin. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. Today, we're talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Once again, you can listen to the Rich Dad Radio program anytime, anywhere on iTunes, Android, or YouTube. And please leave a review. The reason we do that is because I love this format. You can listen to it again and you get smarter. But most importantly, if you have a friend, family member, or business associate who's an idiot, have them listen to this program and discuss it. Because especially if they're turned off about Bitcoin, I'm not saying buy Bitcoin. We're just saying get educated on it. So, Anthony, what advice would you have for the FNG, the FNU guy or girl coming into the crypto market? What advice do you have? That's Marine Corps talk, You don't want to be the FNG for too long.
I think the big things here are, again, timeless principles, right? One is you got to make sure that you get educated. So you want to make sure that you understand what you're buying.
How do you do that? I mean, there's so much BS out. Like this China thing. I just can't believe it. Well, it crashed because of China. China's been warning against Bitcoin since 2013, 2014, 15, and then they warned against Ethereum in 2016. They will always warn you against Bitcoin. Oh, that's caused it. I mean, how do you get educated?
I think there's two different approaches, right? And you should do both of them at the same time. One is there's some great resources out there. You always should start with the Bitcoin white paper. It's 9 pages. Sit down. It's a little technical, but it'll at least give you an understanding kind of the original vision for this. The second thing is there's a ton of written resources, videos on YouTube, on podcasts, things like that. But really, it's just find the people who have acquired large audiences in the space. And the reason why they've acquired large audiences, for the most part, are people find their content kind of signal in all of the noise, right? And so I could sit here and I could list 30, 40 different people. But if you just get on like a Twitter and you kind of search around, you'll find those folks. If you go on YouTube, you'll find those folks.
Who do you
recommend?
Who do you push? Because I listen to you. Other people listen to me. Who do you listen to? Who do you think is credible out there?
Yeah, I mean, literally, there's so many people that I can't name them all. But I think obviously Michael Saylor has done a great job. He's the CEO of MicroStrategy. Top of mind right now with all the China stuff is Nick Carter, who's got a VC fund and also is one of the co-founders of Coinmetrics. He's done a great job. I think Robert Breedlove, who you've had on before, he does a fantastic job. There's a woman, Meltem Demirs, who does a great job as well. There's a gentleman named Isaiah Jackson, who wrote a book called Bitcoin in Black America, who I think does a great job. And so you can just kind of go down the line, right? Person after person after person. There's a gentleman, Jason Williams, who wrote a book about Bitcoin. And what you find is, and with all these people, they all come at it from different experiences, right? They have all had different kind of life journeys to Bitcoin. And so when you put them together kind of in totality, what you get is an incredible understanding of Bitcoin, right? If you take, there's a guy named Marty Bent who has been writing about Bitcoin for a while now, but now he's involved in capturing flare gas from oil and gas companies and turning it into Bitcoin mining. Or you've got somebody like a Parker Lewis who's really into, kind of the key management for folks over a long period of time. And so I think there's a whole list.
Why did you switch to Bitcoin? What turned you on? What specifically, what caught your eye? But once it catches your eye, you start studying more. But what caught your eye initially?
It's what Marty always says. My buddy Marty, he says, people come for the money, but they stay for the money. And what that means is they come because there's profits, there's volatility, right? There's excitement, and they feel like, well, what are all these people doing? And then once they start to understand it, they say, wait a second. The dollar and other fiat currencies are heavily manipulated. This is not manipulated in the same way, right? It's outside of the system. It's kind of that digital sound money. I'm going to hold this because it's going to protect my wealth. It's going to actually gain purchasing power over time.
And that's why I pick on the baby boomers, because they were the luckiest. They were born at the right time, but the trouble is they're not well educated. And the thing I like about the millennials is you guys are at least aware you're being screwed.
Well, I think what it is we just have the information available to us.
Well,
right?
You have open minds. You have an open mind. Yeah.
But also we've grown up in an age, right? Like I always say, like every baby boomer I know grew up without the internet at first. And so what they were told was the truth, right? My entire generation has grown up with the internet. And so every time somebody told us something, we could go to the supercomputer and say, hey, is this really true? What you realized was a lot of the news was fake, right? On both sides of every story. And so what you started to do was you started to question all of the mainstream narratives. And what that led you to was this belief that if I truly want to be free, if I truly want to do what is best for me, I have to be an independent thinker. I have to go and be intellectually curious. I got to go get my own information and make my own decisions. And that's not easy for people to do if that's not the environment they grew up in.
Right. And that's why I'm not saying buy Bitcoin. I'm saying listen to credible people. I love what you're saying, but I just can't believe how much information, good and bad, is available on things like YouTube and all this other stuff, which I don't really know much about. I just want to say, I hope you guys like taking care of your parents because they didn't have access to all this. And they're still hoping Social Security and Medicare will be there when they need it, because America we're broke. When I came out of the military, we're at about 30% debt to GDP. So we could have, that's like you make $100,000, but you pay $30,000 to the bank. Today, it's 140% debt to GDP. That means you're making $100,000, but you owe $140,000 every month. And America is broke, and the baby boomers are still living in that time when we were 30% debt to GDP. So it's not the same world anymore. They've been lied to, but they're not even aware they're being lied to, and they think the Bitcoin guys are crazy. Or any Ethereum, anything new that shakes our 401k, dreamland or fantasy land there. So that's why I highly recommend people listen to. Quick question. What does that guy say about blacks and Bitcoin? What's the difference?
Well, I think the whole thing that Isaiah Jackson says is, look, the African-American community has been drastically discriminated against in the traditional financial system. And there's study after study that shows this type of stuff. And so what ends up happening is when you move to a digital decentralized world, what you get is it doesn't matter who you are because nobody knows in some cases. They don't know what school you went to. They don't know how wealthy you are. They don't know who you know. They don't know the color of your skin, your religion, your sex, any of that stuff. What they just know is if you want a loan, give me, $1 million of Bitcoin and I'll give you a $300,000 loan. It's much more of a kind of a collateral based system. It's much more about kind of put up, not or shut up, right? It's not so much about who you know or what your past experiences are. And so I think that that's a really interesting view of the world, right? Is saying, look, we're going to take back control. And it's for everybody around the world saying, we're going to take back control. We're going to put a bank in our pocket. We're going to have the access of all financial services at our fingertips. And we don't need permission from anyone, right? If I want to send any sort of monetary value to Robert, I don't need JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, or anybody else to say I can do that. All I need is for Robert to give me his wallet address and I can do it. And all of a sudden what happens is we're free. We are free of any corporate middleman or any rent seeker, and we have the ability to actually conduct financial services between ourselves without the need for those kind of third parties. And I think that's incredibly powerful as we continue moving forward.
Another question is this, on the macros, like I say, every time I talk to crypto guys, you guys are just peeing in the ocean and pissing everybody off. But it's a legitimate peeing in the ocean. The other point of view is this, what most people don't understand about financial education, because in 71, I was coming on my way to Vietnam, and that's when I kind of woke up. They were coming off the gold standard, and the average guy had no idea what that meant. And that's the problem. So the thing I know about this is when they say quantitative easing, what you're talking about, Anthony, is this: the only people that get the money are rich people. You see, with quantitative easing, you must go through the banking system. So when I've been broke many times, and when I had no money, the banks close their doors to you. So I understand. I don't think it's black. I think if you're financially illiterate, the banks will close the doors to you. So every time they print money, the money gets trapped in what's called the monetary system. But only the rich get richer, and the poor and middle class get poorer because, temporarily there's inflation. And the inflation is in the asset markets. So Bitcoin went up, real estate goes up, stock market goes up. But I feel for the guys working in my yard because they violate Rich Dad's lesson number 1, don't work for money. You've got to work for assets. So this is the next thing I'm going to ask you a question on, you see, because as long as you guys are kind of pissing off the central banks here, right, and they keep printing money, guys like me get richer and richer. I just borrowed another $160 million. The average guy can't even get a credit card. Well, they got student loan. That's all they can get. And that's why they get poor, because of the school system. But if Bitcoin, you guys keep pissing people off, and we go to FedCoin, you know what's going to happen?
What's that?
Hyperinflation, because they're going to give money. It's complete communism at that point. They're going to give money directly to the people via UBI, Universal Basic Income, MMT. It's called welfare. It's also called Social Security. It's also called Medicare. But they're going to, if they go to FedCoin, like China's going to the China coin, if they go to that, that's why you're going to wish you had some Bitcoin, gold, silver, and bullets, because there will be civil unrest. They're going to steal our wealth, but they're going to pump the money directly into the people. And that's what they did during the Weimar Republic, which brought rise to Adolf Hitler. And Kamala and Adolf have the same values. It's reparations. And that's why Bitcoin guys, I'm riding with you, because you are pissing everybody off. But if you go too far and they go to a Fed coin, we're all going to get richer. But there will be war. There's
no doubt in my mind they're going to launch a digital dollar, right, or Fed coin. And what people need to understand is two things. One, it is no different than what the dollar is today. It's the same monetary policy, just in a new technology format. And all that means is now they have more controls than they had previously.
Right.
And the second thing is that if they launch a Fed coin, it is going to force everyone to get a digital wallet. And when they get everyone on digital wallets, more and more capital is going to flow to the soundest, hardest money. And so therefore, what is actually going to happen is when they launch FedCoin, they're going to think that it is going to be a response to Bitcoin as a decentralized digital currency, but it's actually going to accelerate the adoption of that digital decentralized currency. And I think they know that. I think that's why they're actually not being so aggressive with it. But what people are not ready for is a world where the federal government actually has more power than they have now over the monetary supply. So here's two ideas for you. The first is China already ran this experiment. What happens when the US says, hey, we're going to give out a $1,200 stimulus check? By the way, you have 7 days to spend it. If you don't spend it, it expires. When you can actually put expiration dates on the money. When you can tell people, we're going to give you this stimulus check, but you can only spend it in certain places. All of a sudden, you hand that to millions and millions and millions of Americans. It's not so good. The second thing is what happens when they start to personalize monetary policy. They say, Robert, you know what? You've got lots of assets. You've got great income. We're actually going to allow you to experience higher levels of inflation. But you know what? That person that is down the street, they're going to experience medium level of inflation. And we're going to start personalizing the level of inflation or the monetary policy that you have because we can. Your music playlist is personalized, your Google Maps, your Uber and Lyft, your Google search results, everything in your life that is on a keyboard is personalized. Why is the money not? It's because they previously haven't had the technological ability to do it, but now they do. And so when you start to think through this and you say, wait a second, are they going to personalize monetary policy? Are they going to get more control? Are they going to get more surveillance capabilities? This is not going to be a net positive for most people. It's actually going to be a net negative. And it's going to push more and more people into this digital decentralized world of Bitcoin.
Right. What Anthony is saying here is the most important thing. They're going to wipe out the bank. See, right now I have to go to, let's say, Chase Manhattan or, Wells Fargo to borrow money to buy real estate. They go to a Fed coin. They don't need those bankers. They're going to, exactly what Anthony is saying, they're going to pump it straight into the economy. And as an old guy, what we know is called Gresham's Law. Gresham's Law says when bad money enters the economy, which would be a Fed coin, good money goes into hiding. And those of you who have gold, silver, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all that right now, if they go to Fed coin, they're going to push value, exactly as Anthony says, into gold, silver, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all that. It's Gresham's Law. But they will cause hyperinflation. See, right now, what the government is afraid of, every time they have quantitative easing, the reason they do that is because we're deflating. So they pump money in, and there's a boost in the economy for about 2 years. And then it deflates again. But the only people left with the money are the guys who can borrow money like me. So that's why they screw the working class. The guys working in my yard are screwed. The school teachers are screwed. They're working for money, and they got the money in the stock market. So when they go to Fed coin, it's going to create hyperinflation because it's Gresham's Law. And then it's going to drive gold, silver, Bitcoin to the moon. So that's why I listen to what Anthony has to say, because I don't like being screwed. So Anthony, thank you very, very much for being my teacher on all this stuff. I appreciate it. You and breedlove and those guys. I just really enjoy listening to the younger generation because us old guys have had it too easy. Thank you very much, Anthony.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye. When we come back with a final word for Rich Dad Radio. Thank you, Anthony. Welcome back, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. Again, I want to thank Anthony Pompliano. He's fantastic. He's one of the new generation coming up. And what I say to the old guys, the baby boomers, you better open your minds up. Especially you, Peter Schiff and Harry Dent and all my friends out there who are gold bugs. You can still be a gold bug, but you don't have to keep your mind closed. You old guys, listen up. There's this new sheriff in town, and there's the young guys. So I don't know where it's all going to go, but I just know that printing fake money makes gold better, but that's not the only answer. So anyway, you can listen to the Rich Dad Radio Show anytime, anywhere on iTunes, Android, or YouTube. And we'll archive all of our programs at richdadradio.com. So you can listen to this again, because you listen to this 2 or 3 times, you'll learn even more. And then most important, have your friends, family, and business associates listen to it and discuss it. When you discuss it, it's good you don't agree. Like Peter Schiff's a really good friend of mine. Harry Dent's a good friend of mine. I disagree with them constantly. Doesn't mean that's how we learn. So what happened with Anthony and Peter Schiff?
I saw over the weekend they got in a pissing match over Bitcoin. You know, Peter Schiff is not a fan of Bitcoin. Pomp is, obviously. And so so Pomp opened a pizza shop in New York called Bitcoin Pizza, and Schiff started shitting all over it. I mean, I don't know the details, and I know they're great friends. So this is not, this is nothing like we're revealing any secrets or anything. But then Schiff, tweeted about him being a pizza delivery boy, and I mean, it was pretty funny. So I love the banter back and forth because, like you said, when you have conversations or learn from people who think differently than you actually learn more because you can see both sides of the coin. So I love that they have that relationship.
That's like my doctor said to me the other day. He said, I heard you yelling at Harry Dent about living in Puerto Rico. I said, yeah, I mean, if Harry Dent opened his mind, see, Schiff and Dent and all these other Maloney, they all live in Puerto Rico. They have to live there 183 days a year just to not pay taxes. I mean, if you're a real estate guy, you don't have to pay taxes anyway. Trump and I are real estate guys. And then I don't save money. I save gold, silver, and Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all that stuff. Well, you should save money. I'm going, well, you should, not me. So I think the future is a combination of old guys and young guys. But the old guys, the baby boomers, are in serious, serious trouble because Social Security and Medicare are bankrupt. Just remember, when I came out of school, debt to GDP was 30%. Today, it's 140%. And I was listening to these stock guys. They make me nauseous. I want to vomit, these old stock guys. So, don't worry. The price of stocks are going up. Yeah, but the economy is going down, and we've been run by communists. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What is the price of your stupid stock going up? Give me a break. You know what I mean? Give me a break. So wake up, you baby boomers. Wake up. So listen to this podcast with your son or daughter. There's a song. I was talking to Sarah about it. It was called Teach Your Children Well. Mm-hmm. You who are on the road. I think it was Crosby, Stills. Your children's health. Da, 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 da. Your children should teach you now. Wake up. So thank you all for listening to the Rich Dad Radio Show. And thank Anthony Pompliano. And all you old guys, like Peter Schiff, move to Puerto Rico. We'll be right back. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Có anh không, người hỡi, bao đắm say ta có bên người còn đâu, làn tuyết trắng mùa đông khóc nhau, nhìn từng con phố ngày xưa vắng lặng, nhìn làn tuyết trắng buồn sẽ có hoài. Ngày xưa ấy một lần lầm lỡ, thế nhưng lại đau vì ta mất nhau. Người không thứ tha đời ta ngỡ ngàng, để cho thương nhớ về trong lỡ làng. Ngày ta xa một ngày mùa đông, tuyết rơi lạnh cóng, xót xa hoài mong. Bóng tuyết rơi một đời tạ tơi, đóng băng tim mình.